Okay.
Morning, everybody. Thanks again to the speakers to be here for their availability to present the transnational virtual access opportunities offered in the framework of the project financed in Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe. Thank you also to all the attendees that they are growing. Now we have 30 participants, so we are very happy of the participation. Already said before in the backstage, the webinar will be recorded, and will be published and available on the Reach Europe website. I am Daniele Cizzi. I'm the coordinator of the Reach Europe, the project, the NCP's projects core network for research infrastructure. And in the framework of our project, we have several activities, in some case only for NCPs, in other case, like this morning, open to all the stakeholders, all the interested in research infrastructure environment. In our webinar today is the first webinar of Reach Europe on transnational virtual access opportunity. We'll have the chance to have the coordinators of the project that offer transnational and virtual access opportunity. So I give immediately the floor to Dr. Salvatore Shortino. He's a senior research professor at National Institute for Astrophysics, INAF, in Italy, and he's going to present us the AHEAD 2020 Transnational Virtual Access Opportunity. So, Professor, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Good morning to everybody. It's a pleasure to be here to give this presentation. So, in brief, I will give this presentation on behalf of the entire HEAD Executive Committee and especially on behalf of Luigi Piro, that is the HEAD 2020 coordinator. I personally are the coordinator of the work package devoted to test facility TNA. As it's clear from the list of people involved in the executive committee, this is a big project, as I will tell you in a moment. Let's move on, hoping this will work. Okay. Let's say, AHEAD 2020 in a nutshell. AHEAD 2020 is the integrated activity for high energy astrophysics domain, is a European project as part of the Horizon 2020 program, is the research infrastructure for the high energy, and has been selected as advanced community. AHEAD 2020 builds on previous experience, in particular on the AHEAD project, and the main goal is essentially to improve the level of integration reached by the previous AHEAD program, but broadening the impact of the program, including the new multi-messenger science and European gravitational wave community. The project started in March 2020. Initially was scheduled for a duration of 4 years, but due to the COVID, we have obtained an extension to recover as best as possible the effect of the COVID. The budget is here, and the number of institutions involved is quite big. Overall, there are 38 European institutions and 3 small medium enterprise. What are the goals? Integrate and coordinate national activity in energy astrophysics, push the limit of current technology in various aspects, and with the idea to use this new technology development for maximize the scientific return of future planned high energy and multi-messenger facility that are typically satellite, instrumentation that fly on a satellite of various size. Regarding the specific aspect of the TNA, we provide access free of cost to a network of ground test-based facility for the hardware development, calibration, etc. On the same line of TNA activity, we provide free of cost access to a network of the expertise facility. It has the center of, where there are expert people that can mentor and train, people on specific aspect of data analysis and model computation. And the idea through the virtual access is to make accessible the usable multi-messenger data. More generally, there is a promotion, the high energy and multi-messenger astrophysics at various levels with, a big outreach program. And the overall effort is aiming to train the next generation researcher that can be, the front line on the next, the future of development of this specific research topic. This is the organization, essentially, being a Horizon 2020 program, the infrastructure contains three elements, the TNA, three major elements, the TNA, the joint research activity, and the network. The TNA, that is where I will discuss a bit more in the following, are devoted to experimental facility, to data analysis expert center, to computational astrophysics expert center, and to access to gravitational wave archive. And this is the overall scheme that is used for manage this complex project. The access opportunity are made possible through a series of calls that occur during the more or less 5-year duration of the overall program and are based on traditional visit. The call are issued each semester. And the visit of successful applicants are fully funded. Essentially, we fund either a group of 3 people when going to visit an experimental facility, or typically a single person when we are talking of access to X-ray data analysis expertise and computational facility expertise. The transnational access to ground test facility, essentially, the idea is to offer a pool of facilities that are used to test and/or calibrate a new technology space hardware, as well as hardware developed for specific astronomical space mission. But we are open to, accept requests to be used in a wider context of space application. For this specific transnational access, based on, previous experience that we gained during the AHEAD project, we have decided to open the call, keep the call open all the time. This is to ease the access to experimental group in which, the timeline of development project is not so easily, fixed. People can have problem with a too strict schedule of call of a semester, and this has resulted in really an improvement of the number of the assessors. The idea is that people apply, and typically in a month they will receive a reply from the selection committee if the application is accepted or not. The transnational access to X-ray data analysis provide access to data analysis method, including use of data tools, archive, and space instrument via tutorial mentoring by scientists that have already a big experience in that specific, subtopic of data analysis and topic of specific science. Typically, these people, these experienced scientists are at some specific institute. The idea is to exploit at the best both European funded or other international high energy astronomy observing facility. You know, for the high energy astrophysics, it must be clear that most of the data come from the space. But coming from the space, this means that the facility, the observational facility, are not owned by any nation, nor by the European Commission in general. They are owned by national space agency or European Space Agency. So there is no possibility to provide direct access to data that are offered through international competition, but we can offer access to the expertise to the analyze this data. For the computational astrophysics, this is a new initiative, OAED 2020. This is an opportunity for European research to access free of charge complex computational astrophysical simulation, where complex means that typically they run on a high parallel computing, things like that. And so the idea is that expert people provide access to their model and the tool they have developed with the idea to simulate, compare, analyze X-ray and gamma ray data. Finally, the virtual access provide access to the archive of gravitational wave data. The original idea was to essentially provide a copy of what has been was already done by in the United States, but as you know, things have evolved, and now we are people, you know, our experts are having discussed this with UA referee and European Commission officer, have moved to a more ambitious program that is essentially to develop something new that is still available but still under in progress. And finally, what I would like to just mention that the transnational access, the virtual access, are joined by a vigorous visitor program that is, technically speaking, not a transnational access, but provide, you know, a way to people to move from one place to another to exchange for a longer time period. Typically visit the transnational access are of the order 1 to 2 weeks at most, while the visitor program can be 1 month or even 2 months, you know, raising a new collaboration, cross-fertilization, and things like that. This is the overall scheme of the infrastructure for TNA virtual access that I had provide. These are the red are the experimental facility, then there are the data analysis. You can see there are several, you know, center that provide access in many places in Italy and abroad, France, you know, etc. Okay, I don't want to enter. And also the computational astrophysics, there are many places where people can go and do things. The offered experimental facility, just to have an idea, is a list, you know, a selection based on previous experience gained with the head, include one big thermal vacuum chamber, a CSL in Belgium, 2 shaker, a facility for testing thin filters, a CSL, a system to binline offered by the OMS, CNR, the Electra synchrotron that cover an ample range of energies. General purpose binline for X-ray and gamma ray that they call XAT and LARI respectively, and the soft X-ray beamline specialized for testing silicon pore X-ray optics that are the state of art in the development of X-ray optics for astrophysics use. Few example of visit that has been performed so far, there are vibration tests of composite material, for example, of filter for the Athena space mission. This has been done in Liegi, the CSL. Analysis of the aluminum oxide on aluminum coated membranes to investigate for the Athena filters, the fine structure. This is performed at the BAB, at the OMCNR, beam splitter polarizer for polarimetry in key UV line for solar physics. This has been performed during 2 distinct TNA assess. Study of the low Earth orbit radiation harness and observational performance of gallium telluride instrumentation. This has been done at the LARIX at the University of Ferrara. And there is another visit that has been approved that still have to be done, to be performed at the LARIX. Example data analysis. Visit as Ron Leiden, the host is Gerd Deplat. Ron offers tutorial for analysis of high resolution spectra using code that has been developed by Ron scientists. Also offer the access to the expertise for the analysis tool provided for relevant mission like Sam Newton, Chandra, Suzago, that are among the most famous X-ray observatory with specific like Sam Newton, Chandra still operating in the space. During this year, Sonna has hosted already 2 visits from various, and other 3 visits will be offered by the end of this year. Another example to finish is the computational astrophysics TNA, and the visit has been done at the University of Bath in UK. Here the point is that the group has developed code to model the gamma ray burst afterglow from the relativistic jets. So people going there can learn how to use the code, can ask probably to adjust some parameter of the code and to fit the data that they have with the outcome of the model. So essentially is a step further. And this is essentially the overall idea that this example provide you, an overall idea of how the TNA within HEAD has worked and how is planned to work in the next 2 coming years. And I will stop here at this point.
Thank you, Professor Shortino. Thank you very much indeed for your accurate presentation. I go fast to the next speaker, then I remember to the participant that now we are more than 55 participants, that they can write their question or doubts in the chat. We'll collect them, and then at the end of the presentation, we can ask to the speakers to clarify or intervene again. I go directly to the next speakers. Dr. Christine Pratt. She, after her PhD in virology, she worked in the diagnostic field in various companies based in Oxford, in UK, specializing knowledge transfer between academia and the industry. She then took the position of Deputy Director of the French National Research Center on arboviruses in Marseille, France. And now she with us to present the EVA Global European Virus Archive, Global Life Science. Dear Pratt, the floor is yours, and thank you very much to your availability.
I'm not able yet to share my screen.
Yeah, I'm going to give you also the privilege. Okay, now you are present.
Okay. Okay, you can see my screen, I guess.
Yes, we
So thank you for the opportunity to present our project. So it is quite different from what we have just seen. It's a completely other subject. We are not talking about astrophysics. Physics. We are talking about viruses, exclusively viruses. So our European project is called the European Virus Archive. And it does what it says, basically. We are a biobank for viruses. So let me first introduce to you what we do. So we are an Edge 2020 project, so a non-profit organization grouping 46 virology laboratories worldwide. And our missions are nicely summarized in this in these little graphic animations. Basically, we take viruses, we put them into boxes, and we send them around for scientists that need them. So we have an online catalog that I will describe a bit. We chose the model to have everything online. Everything is done online, including the access to transnational access. So we are a European research infrastructure. We are a biobank for live viruses and derived products. We also give access to services, a bit like in the idea of what was presented before, both to academics and industries, free of charge, some of them free of charge, thanks to the transnational access activities. Thanks to our expertise, we support public health response during viral outbreaks. I'm going to show you briefly all that. As I said, so we are 36, actually, I made a mistake, 36 partners from Europe. So we are located around here, and 9 non-European partners. You can see that we basically group all the main labs working on viruses. For example, Institut Pasteur Paris, Institut Pasteur in Dakar, Charité in Berlin, Erasmus Medical School in the Netherlands, Aix-Marseille University, which is the coordinator of the project, and a lot of different other labs, either in human viruses, veterinary viruses, and also plant viruses that are also causing quite a lot of damages. We also function with associated partners in various countries and associated networks. And all this allows us to have a catalog of viruses and associated products that is the largest in the world at the moment. So how do we collect viruses? So we do field work. There is a thing like a work role that is to be a virus hunter. Basically, you go at the sites of epidemics and you take samples from the environment, and then you go back to the lab, you sequence it, you try to see first if it's a virus at all, and then you try to isolate it, to cultivate it in the lab, and to authenticate it, etc. We also have what we call reference strains. So those are strains that are that have been used for decades, or that are just used really as reference material. For example, rabies virus, the original Pasteur strain for rabies virus, and other types of viruses like that. We, of course, have clinical strains. So what is a clinical strain? So you know that viruses, they can mutate a lot. So basically, even though they are still called coronavirus, for example, they do mutate. So everyone now is familiar with the notion of variants. And so those are what we say clinical strains. I mean, they've been isolated from patients, and they come directly from patients. We also have recombinant viruses. It means that starting from the genetic sequence, we can make viruses with in view some biotechnological applications. You can use viruses for many applications actually, because they basically inject genetic material in a cell. So you could have reporter genes, fluorescent proteins expressed in cells, etc. At the moment, we have more than 2,000 strains on the catalog. And also, we offer access to what we call derived products. So those are products that are derived from viruses. So again, just a reminder that we provide access to physical samples, not data, not only data like sequence, etc. We provide actual access to physical samples. So what are we talking about when we talk about derived products? So we talk about nucleic acids. Some scientists need to work not on the virus as a whole, but only on their genomes, and we provide that. We also provide proteins, so fragments from the virus. Again, it's like a car. When you want to know how the engine of a car works, sometimes you need to focus on some parts of the engine, and that's what we are talking about here. We also have antibodies and hybridomas, so those are used for biotechnological applications, detection of the virus in clinical samples and things like that. And we also have, of course, detection kits, diagnostic kits. And this is especially relevant when we are talking about emerging viruses, because by definition, when a new virus emerges, it's new. There are no products on the market. And at this time, during the first 3 months of outbreaks, pandemics, epidemics, biobanks are really key to distribute material to study the new virus, basically. Yeah, and so derived products, I mean, recombinant viruses can also be classified in the derived products category. So those are the numbers, respectively, that we have on the catalog. And we also offer access to services, a bit like the idea that was developed by my colleague just before me. We offer training courses. I mean, handling viruses can be, it necessitates highly skilled personnel. And so we provide training courses. For example, we train people on how to analyze sequence data from viruses, or how to diagnose this type of virus, or how to cultivate. We also give as access to a facility. So we give access to biosafety level 3 and 4 laboratories. So you know that laboratories are classified in terms of biosecurity, biosafety. The lowest level is BSL1, the highest level is BSL4. So in BSL4, you manipulate highly dangerous pathogens, highly dangerous viruses. And so having access to those labs is critical to develop drugs or vaccines, to test your product on live using the actual virus. But it's actually, there are not so many facilities around the world that have BSL3 or 4 labs. So we give access to those in the TNA framework. We also give access to technical platforms. We quickly realized that some scientists needed simply to get access to sequencing platforms, because those are quite expensive, and not every lab in the world have their own sequencing platforms. So we give access to that. For example, we give access to microscopes or to virus isolation platforms, because it takes some skills to isolate an unknown virus and things like that. So this is an overview of our transnational activities. The project started in 2008, but we've been collecting data since 2016 more thoroughly. So that's why I'm presenting that. So you can see that in majority, we give access to viruses, to derived products, sorry. 58% of what we distribute are more, as I presented, diagnostic kits, nucleic acids, proteins. And I think this came as a surprise, because originally it was mainly with the objective of sharing viruses, but we soon realized we constantly adapt to the needs of our end users. And this is a representation of the number of non-transnational access in orange and transnational access in orange. So at the moment, we do not offer transnational access to private entities. So that explains why we have a certain percentage of access that is paid, because it is paid by companies. And also we found out that some academics do not want to go through the TNA access because they must avoid the double funding. So sometimes in their grants, they have set aside a sum of money to buy a virus. The cost of the virus is not very expensive. It's in terms of thousands of euros or hundreds of euros. So yeah, so I'm going to give you two examples of the TNA distribution of EVA products in the past. You may have heard about the Zika virus outbreaks in the Americas in 2015. Zika virus had been known for a long time. It emerged quite brutally in the Americas, in Brazil in 2015, and it quickly expanded to 15 countries, leading to 1 million cases in 6 months. And it had like dengue-like syndromes, fever, etc., but also like very dramatic consequences on newborn, on fetuses with brain abnormalities, etc. So it was determined by the WHO, the World Health Organization, as a public health emergency of international concern. And EVA distributed products in very quickly, in 6 months, over North America, all over Europe, Southeast Asia, for countries to prepare and to study the virus. And of course, we've been very busy recently with COVID-19, so the SARS coronavirus 2. In the first 6 to 9 months of the pandemic, our workload in terms of transnational access was enormous because basically we distributed diagnostic products, reference material, strains, variants all over the world. So in 114 countries in 9 months, we had orders from everywhere. And yes. So basically, how can we help? How does it work? People go online, they check our catalog, they place an inquiry online, and even the transnational access process, everything is done online. The vote is done online, and then they just receive their products. So it's pretty streamlined. And I think I'm done now. So I will maybe stop sharing my screen now.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Spratt. I repeat, if you have any question or doubts, you can write it in the chat. At the end of the all speakers' presentation, we can report the questions. I give now the floor to Dr. Strasser. Dr. Strasser received a master's and PhD degree from the Technischen Universität Wien. Sorry for the bad pronunciation. And he was awarded the Venia Docenti Habilitation in the field of automation from the same universities. And going now, thank you to be here. I'm going now you the privilege to share your screen. And the floor is yours, Dr. Strasser.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, we hear you quite low.
One moment, then I need to check. One moment, let me check. Maybe the wrong the wrong microphone is selected. Is it now better?
Yeah, great,
yeah.
Perfect now.
Yeah,
Thank
was,
you.
I had a couple of microphones and that was the wrong one was selected. Sorry for that. So good morning, everybody. I hope you can hear me now much better, and I hope you can also see my screen now. Can you confirm that you see my screen?
Yeah, I confirm that we can see.
Okay, then many thanks also to the Rich Europe Consortium for inviting me to present or to give an overview about the access opportunities in the ERIGRID 2.0 project. I'm Thomas Strasser, as already have been introduced. I'm the coordinator of this project, and I'm working at the Austrian Institute of Technology at the AIT in the domain of smart energy systems. So before I go into the details about our access opportunities, a few slides about some background and motivation of our work. So we are again switching the topic. After astrophysics and viruses, we are now coming to the electric energy infrastructure, or generally the energy infrastructure with a strong backbone on the electrical infrastructure. And nowadays we see, and I think it's can see that in the media as well, we are facing with the energy transition. So we need to move on here in order to cope with climate change issues. And typically when we are talking about that topic, we talk about the large-scale integration of renewable energy sources usually from distributed energy resources, wind, photovoltaic, and other sources, but also there are lots of new challenges or changes ongoing also on the load side. So we are becoming more and more more and more battery storage systems, electric vehicles, heat pump systems getting integrated into the electrical energy infrastructure, or generally in the energy infrastructure. And that is a challenge on the one hand side, but brings lots of opportunities. And we see a lots of trends in that domain: digitalization of the energy infrastructure, the deeper involvement of consumers in market integration, and also a very hot topic nowadays is the so-called sector coupling, so linking the electrical energy infrastructure with other energy infrastructures, for example, heat grids, gas infrastructure, and so on. And the big question is, when you work on new technologies, new solutions, is how to bring all these developments into the field. This is a critical infrastructure here. So we are talking about an infrastructure that is very important for our daily life. And so we cannot integrate a product which is not properly tested, especially when we talk about, for example, a new storage system. There exists a lot of good testing approaches already for these components, but when it comes to the integration into the energy system, this is a system level issue, and that makes it much more difficult. And here in the ERIGRID project, or ERIGRID 2 project, we are focusing especially on the validation part. In order to see or to have some evidence that new developments are properly developed and are according to specific or to specifications and use cases. Besides that, we are trying to improve development and testing methods, extend for sure our research infrastructures, which is mainly laboratory based, and also we have a focus on education, especially on multi-domain understanding. As you can imagine, we have here different domains that need to work together. So the electrical energy infrastructure, other energy infrastructures as well. So I mentioned heat grids or heat networks, gas infrastructure, but also control issues, ICT approaches, advanced sensors are more and more integrated, and that requires the kind of a multi-domain understanding of the whole problem. And we are in the ERIGRID 2 project, we are an advanced community. So we have a very long-term pan-European cooperation that started more than 50 years ago in an FP6 network of excellence, where a couple of DR laboratories, so distributed energy research laboratories, teamed up together. And at the end of 2009, we started with the first research infrastructure project. That was the dairy project, where we had 16 partners from 12 countries. And we offered around 800 access days for 100 users, around 100 users from different countries. That was in FP7, and then we continued in Horizon 2020 with the ERIGRID 1 project that had a focus then on the grid infrastructure. So we moved from the distributed energy resources to the grid, to the electrical grid, where we extended our laboratory access possibilities. We offered around more than 1,000 access days to 175 users, and now in the IRIGRID 2 project, we further enlarged our portfolio. We are looking not only on the electrical energy infrastructure, as mentioned, but also on sector-coupled systems. And the goal here is to offer around 1,700 access days, quite a lot for around 250 users. Due to the pandemic, we are a bit behind our schedule. We started directly in the pandemic in April 2020, and the project will finalize in September 24. But on the other side, I think we made really good progress, especially during this year with the access program that I want to highlight in more details a bit. Before I come to that, just a brief overview about the consortium itself. We are 20 partners, mainly coming from research and industry. A couple of research centers are included in the consortium. We have universities, but also we have industry as well as energy utilities in the consortium. All in all, we offer 21 smart grid, smart energy systems and DR laboratories, and around currently 10 virtual facilities or virtual services. The funding is, as usual, for this kind of projects, around 10 million euros. As we also have seen previously, in this program, we need to integrate different activities. Besides the access activities, in our case, it's virtual access and transnational access. Call it in the project lab access because it has a strong focus on laboratories, as previously outlined. Besides that, we are working on networking and joint research activities. The joint research activities that you see here in the bottom are mainly related to the improvement of validation services, validation tools, validation approaches for sector-coupled energy systems. Besides that, we have the usual networking activities, staff exchange, education training, dissemination, liaison with other initiatives, projects on European and national level. And now just a few words about the services that we offer. On the one hand side, we have virtual access services. This is new in the project here in IRIGRID 2. In the previous projects that I mentioned, we had mainly transnational access. So it's a new experience for us. We are having different types of virtual services that are, on the one hand side, so-called simulation as a service. So that means we are offering kind of online simulation tools that allows us to investigate different developments in the smart energy system area. It can be specific simulation tools on the one hand side, or it can be for example, also a development tool for wind turbines. We have also open data, so data as a service. For example, in the back, you see here phasor measurements from the United Kingdom, where one of our partners, the University of Strathclyde, have measurement devices installed in the grid, and they offering live measurements there that can be downloaded. Or we have also some kind of virtual labs for people that are getting some experiences with the integration of, for example, distributed energy resources. This is one part. They are free of charge. They can be accessed via the website. On the other side, as usual in this kind of projects, we have the transnational access. So we call it in the project lab access. That is a bit easier understandable for potential users. We have here 20 different laboratories that span a wide range of different topics, from smart buildings, inverter test laboratories, but also kind of hardware in the loop experimental based laboratories, microgrid laboratories, smart energy systems laboratories. How to apply for this access opportunities? The entry page is a sub-page on the IRIGRID 2 website, where all the conditions for the virtual access, but also for the, because it's lab access or physical lab access, are being described. All the facilities, the virtual ones that are shown here on the right hand side of the slide, as well as the transnational access or lab access, they are being described on the web side. different the application process is described there. So we have tried to make it as easy as possible for the users to get information how to apply. They need to write a mini proposal with a proposal template, lab access guide, everything clearly described, including also some frequently asked questions on the website. And they can also interact with the laboratories in case of questions, so they can contact via the website individual laboratories if they have questions. And for the proposal submission, we are using also a specific tool for that. We have more than 120 members in the user selection panel that they are helping us for in the evaluation of the projects. We are offering all in all 10 calls during the project lifetime, so until September 2024. Recently, we have closed call 6. Call 7 is now open. Until now, we have around 60 proposals submitted. Big part is already finalized or in implementation phase. As said, due to the pandemic, we had some delays, but we are pretty on a good track now to continue with the Transnational Access program. Before I finish my brief overview, don't miss the opportunities. So there are lots of opportunities here available in our project. Lots of users that we already had in our laboratories or that used our virtual service are very satisfied. Just one brief example how such a project could look like. For example, one user group, they had a specific need for data from the electrical energy infrastructure side, from the electricity grid side. They applied in a lab in the UK, in Scotland, for example, in the offered by the University of Strathclyde. They went there. They had pretty nice on-site demonstration and test facility laboratory. The users did some measurements there, recorded the data, and used the data later on for their artificial intelligence-based fault detection analysis. So that's a typical example of how such how our infrastructure can be used. And that's a brief update from my side about the ERIGRID 2 opportunities. Many thanks.
Thank you very much indeed. I give now the floor to Madame Sylvie Jacquemot. She studied at l'École Polytechnique and l'École Nationale Supérieure de Technique Avancée. She has served as a CEA research director and is now officer in charge of European affairs in l'École Polytechnique. She represents the Laser Lab Europe project, and just give me a second to give you the privilege, and the floor is yours. Thank you to be here.
Yeah, so I think now you are seeing my slides. Okay?
Yes, we can see yourself.
Okay, so thanks for the introduction. So I will first give you a brief introduction of what is Laser Lab Europe. So currently it's a consortium of 35 contracting laser infrastructures located in 18 European countries, as shown on the map. And we are including a large variety of laser sources, from microscopy, spectroscopy platform to large-scale petawatt class facilities, and also 2 free electron lasers. So the current 5-year contract will end of 2024, and it allows us to get funding for the usual free activities, networking, joint research, and transnational access, on which I will focus this talk. So the objective of our transnational access activity is to offer access free of charge, including travel and accommodation, to a comprehensive consortium of state-of-the-art laser research facilities, currently 24, widely distributed geographically, as shown on the map. As I said, we are offering access not only to laser sources, from optical to free electron ones, but also to secondary particle and radiation sources and to spectroscopy instruments with overall durations ranging from a few nanoseconds to a few attoseconds and wavelengths from the terahertz range to X-rays. So we are supporting this activity for up to 3,500 access days, which should represent at the end of the contract roughly 350 projects over the 5-year durations and close to 800 visiting users. So the transnational access activity is open to all the researchers from all fields of science and from any lab or company, which are welcome to conduct world-class research. And we are also welcome in countries outside the European area. So currently, more than 10% of the completed projects are international ones. And to give you a flavor of our user demography, you can see here what we have roughly 1/3 of our users coming from Western Europe, so close to 10% coming from international countries, mainly US and also Japan. And we have, it's in fact widely distributed all around the world. Okay, so this graph represents the diversity of the topics tackled within the Access program. We have, let's say, knowledge deepening activities in green, that's to say physics, chemistry, material science, lab science, but also societal applications of in laser science for energy, many photovoltaics or laser fusion, for health, for cultural heritage, and these social applications are here because we are developing novel tools for laser-based science and applications, mainly the work on primary and secondary source, but also emerging nanotechnologies or laser matching processes that we are developing within the consortium. Okay, what is exactly our national activity? So first, to help users finding for their research projects the most suitable facility among this large variety of services, we have developed an interactive search tool available on our website, and you have the link on the screen. So this tool shows the scientific fields possibly investigated at a glance, as shown here. And once and behind these scientific tips, you have tooltips providing a more detailed description. Once a topic selected by the user, the list of the facilities where the foreseen experiment could be conducted is displayed. And to do that, each access providing facility is categorized with tags. So the web page is fully responsive, and the structure and coding makes it easily updated. So Laser Lab Europe has also a dedicated page on the Web for Light catalog for light sources. So as usually we are only in-person access, but as a result of the coronavirus pandemic, we developed remote access, and we are now offering remote access to several of our labs. It shall, however, be granted only when an agreement is reached on how to proceed between the host facility and the principal investigator, and it requires a strong and direct involvement of this investigator in the different steps and decisions during the experiments, usually on a daily basis. The reason is that our projects are mainly based on a collaborative research and not on just access provision. So during the first reporting period of the current contract, which coincides with the strict lockdowns and restriction during the pandemic, about 60% of the number of access experiments were carried out remotely, either completely or as a combination of on-site and remote access, a combination that we are calling hybrid access. So currently, without the travel restriction, the rate of remote access has decreased down to 24% and is expected to decrease further. So the general feedback of the users on remote access is quite positive. So the carbon footprint of the activity is of course reduced, and users welcome the hybrid access mode, which is shown to be very useful for large consortia, allowing more users having access to the data. However, remote access is more demanding for the host staff and does not allow for non-predefined changes of the experimental setups. And in addition, we thought that the training aspect of the activity toward both new users and young researchers is strongly penalized. In fact, this training aspect is a strong component of our access program, with more than half of the users being young researchers and even more first-time users. Okay, so the strong transnational access activity is strongly integrated and organized as a joint activity among all the participating facilities. It uses a common advertising platform, so you have a link also on the screen, and a unified fully electronic proposal management system based on the ARIA platform developed by Instructoric. It relies on a common continuous call for proposal, except for the largest facility which have implemented annual calls. So once submitted, the proposals are evaluated in terms of feasibility by the host facility, and once declared feasible, scientifically evaluated from a common external selection panel relying on a pool of more than 100 independent referrals. Each proposal is evaluated by 2 experts. And once scientifically accepted, the proposals are scheduled at the host facility, priority being given to new users. So the typical delay between submission and final decision is 6 to 7 weeks, and the experiments have to be scheduled within the 18 months following final decision. So this delay was extended during the pandemic to 22 months. Okay, so one of the key features of our transnational access activity is the strong involvement of user representatives. They are acting as interface between the user community and Laser Lab Europe, providing advices on both sides, and they help us maintaining and improving good relations with our users. They are especially in charge of the organization of regular user meetings. So the whole activity is supervised by an access board who can provide guidance to new users, but who is also responsible of the distribution of the resources among the providers according to varying offers and/or demands, thus of a possible redirection of projects between facilities, what we are calling dynamic access. Okay, so after their experiment, the principal investigators have to fill out a brief report on their scientific achievements and complete a feedback questionnaire. So the purpose of this questionnaire is to collect user feedbacks and evaluate the access program in order to give useful advice to the facilities and to the network. So currently, the user satisfaction is at the highest, as shown on the spider web, which is good, but we are still place for improvement, as you can see. The user community is also consulted on its needs in order to shape the evolution of the access activity and support further developments for our laser ecosystem. So a recent survey has, for instance, shown that 80% of our users are thinking that access to our facility is important for their research, and the majority of them planning to apply in the future if support is available. So that's all. I will conclude on that. So if your research needs lasers, contact Laser Lab Europe. Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much for your presentation. We are now closing the session of the presentation. We have some questions in the chat. Some of those are already replied directly in chat by the speakers. One question were, where do you promote the calls for access to your RIs? Repeat some speakers have already replied in chat. I can add that also Reach Europe as project gives this kind of services about the promotion of the transnational virtual and transnational access. Apart the webinars like this one, we have a specific section on the Reach Europe website where all the transnational and virtual access opportunity financed in the framework of Horizon 2020 Horizon Europe are displayed and periodically updated. So I invite you, this was a service that also the whole NCP's research infrastructure NCP's project networks delivered. We continue to do that, and then we promote when we receive some input from the project's coordinator. We also give prominence to the transnational virtual access opportunity also through our Twitter account. This is just to integrate the replies that some of you already said, saying that they promote the transnational virtual access opportunity through LinkedIn, Twitter, ResearchGate, mailing list, direct contact, Euraccess, and etc. I don't know if some other speakers want to add something on this point, or I think it's exhaustive this way. I don't know if someone else has a specific channel to disseminate the opportunities, transnational virtual access opportunities. Okay, I don't seem so. I have specific questions to Dr. Christine Pratt. A participant asked, could you please develop on the non-T transnational access and transnational access in relation to the fact that some researchers should avoid the double fundings? I probably just need some basic clarification in order to understand the issues. Many thanks in advance.
Well, you cannot have double funding as a general rule for European funding. It means that you cannot say in your grant application for a European project, I will spend 2,000 buying a virus and then receive it free of charge from another EU project. That's just simple as that. And as I said, we are talking about a few €100, a few maybe a few thousands, but mostly a few €100. So that's yeah, that's the reason why.
Okay, thank you. Well, we are perfect on time. Just 5 minutes more from the scheduled time, but I don't see any other question. I just repeat that the recording video will be uploaded to the Reach Europe website together with the presentation from the speaker if they are willing to share with us. And let me conclude by thanking most warmly all the speakers and all the Reach Europe staff that worked in the preparation of the webinars. Laura, Andrea, and Maria, other that maybe I forget someone, but I want really thanks to the staff, Reach Europe staff that is well working, Reach Europe project coordinator, and again to all the speakers for their clear and useful presentation, and all the participants that for the research infrastructure environment are quite a lot. We reached 65 participants for a quite small community, so I'm very happy, and thanks again. See you next time. See you in other Reach Europe activities. Thank you. Thank you again.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.